Hey there, good afternoon. Welcome to 10 TV Plus, and this was a look at the sunrise earlier this morning. And take a look at this. The clouds are starting to move on into the region. Your sun came up at 7:41 in the morning, sunset at 5:49 p.m. tonight. By about Valentine's Day, that will be closer to 6 p.m. 10 hours and 7 minutes of daylight on the nose. We are gaining a whopping 2 minutes of daylight every single day. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the month of January. So far over the last 30 days, we have gained about 40 minutes of daylight here in the orange. And as you head up further to the North Pole, you actually gain quite a bit more. And in fact, as you head even further to the north, areas gained about 90 minutes of daylight. The closer down to the equator you go, you don't really notice a difference. So if you live in Miami, roughly year round, your daylight doesn't change a whole lot. Here in central Ohio, though, like I just said, your sun came up today at 7:41 a.m. Right now, here we are. So the dark color is darkness. The lighter color is obviously daylight. As we head towards March and we have daylight saving, we end up gaining more daylight as we head into the spring months. Right now, we are at 10 hours and 7 minutes. But then take a look at this right here. By June, July, we're looking at more like 15 hours of daylight as we get towards the first day of summer. And then eventually that daylight shrinks as we get towards November, when daylight savings time ends by November the 5th. So as we look at this, the reason why we have these fluctuations in daylight is because the Earth is tilted. So we lose daylight in the winter, we gain it as we head into the summertime months. Anywho, I thought that was cool to share with you, but we do have some weather to talk about. We are looking at rain arriving tonight between 6 and 8 o'clock, and we're going to be looking at the heaviest rainfall tomorrow morning, when between about 4 and 7 a.m. on your Friday. I am particularly concerned about folks heading off to work and school tomorrow. If you are an early riser, if you leave the house at 6 a.m., this is definitely going to impact you. So grab the rain gear, the umbrellas, you name it, but also go a little bit slower out there on the roadways, because every time we have wet roadways, there's always an uptick in wrecks on the interstate. So be careful with that. Take a look at this right here. There's your upper level low. These typically travel across the Rockies, and this is what we call a Colorado low, because they intensify on the leeward side of the Rockies. Now, I want to point something out to you right here, all right? So what we are looking at is moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. So from DFW all the way up to Memphis and up towards the Tennessee Valley, all these darker colors on the map, this is Gulf of Mexico moisture that we are tapping into. So all that moisture is moving up to us. That counterclockwise flow with the low is literally a conveyor belt propelling all that moisture up to our neck of the woods. So that's what we're going to be tracking here going into the next couple of days. Right now, from Houston all the way to the north, these areas are going to be tracking severe thunderstorms, hail, and damaging winds. Don't worry, that's not going to be a threat here in Ohio, but down to the deep south, they definitely will have that severe threat. Closer to home, though, we are tracking this low, and let's go ahead and take a look at how far away this is from us here. So here's the leading edge of that warm front across southwest Kentucky, and it's still roughly about 330 miles. So that would put it here by around 6 to 8 o'clock tonight. And you can see right now as we're tracking this here, areas down towards Arkansas and Kentucky are going to be looking at flooding rain. Luckily, we're not going to be tracking flooding rains here at home, but this is that leading edge that we're tracking about 350 miles away. Here's the upper level low right here where we have that warm front moving on through. That's where the heaviest precipitation will be. The best part, though, is that this is such a quick mover, all right? So as soon as we get past Friday night, this is going to be moving off to the east. Things are looking a whole lot drier. So if you have to travel Saturday, you have to travel Sunday, you're in pretty good shape. Heading towards tonight by 9 o'clock, everybody will be tracking the rain, wet roadways out here. Steadier rains south of I-70. You head north of I-70. Take a look at this right here. The lighter greens, and you even get some areas where it doesn't rain at all. That's important because those locations, we're going to be dramatically cutting back on the rainfall totals. Heading into Friday, by about 4 o'clock in the morning, now we really start to see those heavier bands moving on through. Look down here. Piketon, Jackson, MacArthur, Chillicothe, all these cities and towns are in those darker greens and darker yellows. This is where we could be looking at upwards of an inch plus heading into tomorrow. By 6 o'clock in the morning, that morning commute, it is going to be very slow moving out there. So if it typically takes you an hour to get to your destination, give yourselves an hour and 20 minutes because you'll definitely need that extra time. Throughout the late morning, we actually have a break in the activity. And then by Friday night, we have a cold front sliding on through. This is going to bring in another round of showers, and it's going to drastically cool us off heading into tomorrow. So you can see that coming in around 7 p.m. The best chance of rain early tomorrow morning, 80% coverage. The weekend looks A-OK. And then as we head towards Wednesday of next week, we have our next best chance of rain by around hump day. So as we look at rainfall totals town by town, new model data that we got within the last 45 minutes shows areas north of I-70. We actually cut back on totals just a little bit here. Over the last couple of days, we've been seeing models trending a little bit lower. Back on Tuesday, we were looking at possibly an inch in the Columbus metro area. Now we're thinking more like 0.4 of an inch. But still, Jackson, Piketon, MacArthur, you guys could easily get an inch if you guys get a couple of hours of these heavier rain bands. So I just want you to be prepared for that heading into tomorrow. As we look at temperatures, take a look at that. 38 is your average high. We're going to be 20 degrees above that heading into your Friday. All right, so think about that. A little bit of a seesaw effect here because we're up to near 60 tomorrow, and then the temperatures crash down to 41 here on Saturday, and then we're back up here to 56 by Sunday. So a lot of back and forth. Over the last couple of weeks, our coldest temperature, remember this? Early last week, -3 in the morning. Coldest high temperature was 11. We were way down here, January the 20th. You remember that. Look how cold it was. But over the last 10 days or so, it's all been uphill from here as things have improved over the last week. Now, as we take a look at your forecast going into the future, here's your jet stream. Now it's going to be way up towards Canada. And so now what we're going to be looking at is a ridge of high pressure building on in. This is really allowing things to turn to the 50s heading into tomorrow. So that's going to drastically warm things up quite a bit. What is the general consensus heading into February? So as we head out 8 to 14 days, we are extremely confident from Maine all the way down to the Florida coast and out towards the Ohio Valley. We're looking at above average temperatures here, but it does get a little bit cooler. So heading into this weekend by Groundhog Day, we're well above average. So the yellow curve on the map is showing that we're going to be looking at temperatures here close to 20 degrees above average. And then we kind of get back to normal as we head towards not this weekend, but next weekend. We're back down to around where we should be by early February standards. I am a little bit concerned about this back and forth with the temperatures. And let me explain. When you get this freeze-thaw cycle, you actually increase the risk of potholes. So last week we had the polar vortex. And so what that means is that as you get moisture in the pavement, it freezes, right? It gets down to -20 with the wind chill, air temperatures around -5. You get that ice that freezes, that moisture expands. Now what happens when things warm up and thaw? It contracts, all right? So that means that the ground directly under the pavement is not quite as stable. That's where you get these cracks and these ripples and these potholes that begin to form. So I'm just warning you that we are heading into pothole season. This is a classic setup for potholes to form. So I want you to be prepared for that if you are heading out there on the roadways. Now, as we get a look at the 7-day forecast, obviously Saturday things are about to get a whole lot colder out here. By Sunday, temperatures get up to around 56 degrees. It is Groundhog Day. And Punxsutawney Phil has not been the most accurate in his 138 years of record keeping. Out of 138 years, he's only been right about 40% of the time. That is slightly worse than a coin flip. So I would not trust a rodent for your forecast, but tradition, I get it. You do you and enjoy it. Heading into Monday and Tuesday, we are quite dry, and then we are tracking our next system rolling in towards Wednesday of next week. Now, forecast models are really diverging on the track of this here. You'll notice that we are tracking a mixture of rain, snow, and sleet on the onset, and then eventually switching over to all rain as we head into Wednesday afternoon. And look how mild it will be, 48 degrees for the high. So you know that's going to be a rainmaker. Wednesday morning could be cold enough to initially squeeze in a little bit of snow and sleet during the onset of that event. Well, that will do it for me here on 10 TV Plus. Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz is back tonight starting at 6 p.m. Make sure to tune in. He'll have the latest on the rain.